Hello everybody, Morilibus here. We're on the Olympus server. Today's going to be a different type of episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, which I typically do not do. Before we do that, I want to show you guys, this is our new location. This is 1.7 area. And this is where we've all decided we want to kind of build our new quote-unquote spawn, or a new little kind of central hub location for the new chunks. And I don't want to get too much into it, as it's going to be mostly the other members, I believe, that are going to work in this area. I'm still going to be working on my tower, but I think I will try to come by here as well and help out. But we have a fairly well thought out plan, and hopefully it all works out. So a bunch of us got together, and I think we finally hashed out the plan, because it is occasionally very difficult to get everybody on the same page, and when you're working on a large project that affects kind of everybody, you kind of need to get everybody on the same page. So what we've decided, we had an idea of doing kind of like a Mount Olympus for our new location. So we want that to be kind of the central area where we're going to build around. So that is where our new kind of portal hub, I guess, is going to go, is on this mountain. So we looked at a bunch of locations quite a while ago, and we came to this one. And then we've been sitting on it for a while, as people weren't too sure kind of how to proceed or what the plan was. So we got together again, and I think we've kind of figured it all out. And the goal is to have our Mount Olympus, not sure on like the structure or not, but that's going to be kind of a group project that we're going to work on. So there'll be a portal on top of the mountain, and that's pretty much kind of all that will be there, I think, is kind of the hub, is the main idea. But people are free to build other buildings kind of anywhere in this area. So let's get on top of the mountain too, so you can see the general area. Let me get on that derp pillar. Oops, if I can. And I'll show you guys around. So yeah, Fancy has had a really good idea. And his idea, which I will instruct you to go check him out to get more details about this, so I'll just kind of generalize. But the plan is kind of have various kind of districts around this area. So instead of people just building like a typical spawn house and then basically leaving the area and going to go, oh, don't fall off, and going to go do something else, we want to try to make this area like basically a giant ongoing kind of group project where everybody can both work together but also kind of do their own thing. So yeah, the plan, main building here, but then we got various areas around. And I started throwing down these spruce trees everywhere, because when I see extreme hills, living in Canada, our mountains and all that, I typically think there should be like pine tree looking things all over the base of the mountain, but not on top of the mountain. So I tried to put them all around, and if people don't like them, they chop them down. It's totally okay with me. I did a various normal sized ones, and I experimented with some of the bigger guys over there, you can kind of see. So all these spruce trees weren't here, and I've tried wrapping them out a little bit, but that's about it. That stone path I laid out kind of as a guide almost, or a thought. I kind of figured it might be nice if we had a nice kind of windy pathway up the mountain, kind of like with switchbacks and stuff like that. This Fancy also had a decent idea where instead of relying totally on like nether hub travel and stuff like that, kind of go back to the days before that and rely on like road systems and stuff. So I think that's the general idea here, is everything we'll have hub travel as well. And I think we're going to try to set up multiple portals around this area. So like you don't always have to come up to the top of the mountain if you want to leave, as that could prove to be annoying after times. So instead, there might be a little portal in different areas. And yeah, going to the district thing. So what does that mean? Instead of everybody just building kind of random things in the same location, kind of like our current spawn, you go to our spawn. I mean, it gives you a good idea of the various build styles of everybody. But on the whole, it looks kind of wacky, because it's just a lot of out-of-place things that don't really fit. You got normal-looking houses, and then you got futuristic-looking houses, you got modern houses, or what have you. So they kind of don't really jive together. So here we're trying to do and hopefully it works, we're trying to address that by kind of creating separate little districts. Because building styles differ, it's hard to get everybody wanting to do the same style of thing or the same type of thing. So we're hoping to add enough diversity around this area, and we'll have little districts around that kind of share similar themes. And then people that want to build in that theme, instead of just building anywhere, can kind of build in that district. So we might have a medieval district, and if you want to build medieval looking things, you can build in that district. If you want, let's say, I don't know, a modern district or something, you can build there, or different stuff like that. So that's kind of the overall plan for our new hub. And I think I'll leave it at that. So it's, again, I do want to work on this area with the guys because I think it'll be fun. But I think it's mostly going to be the other guys that are kind of working on this area. But I will visit now and then to check out what's going on and see if I can input anything as well. But I do want to continue with my tower. I do want to get that done. I don't like leaving it unfinished, and I still have lots of plans and stuff for it. So let's head out of here. Now, the topic of today. So like I said, this is going to be a different episode. And I'm just going to drink some water. I might have to do that a lot, as I'm going to be talking a lot. All right. The topic for today is pain. Let's get away from these zombies that are looking to cause me pain. All right. Some of you may know, so I'll talk a bit about myself. In my streams, you typically get a glimpse a little bit more into of who I am, personal life, and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to drop this off for them. I ended up chopping a lot of trees, getting the trees the way I wanted them. Which I'll leave the bone meal as well. And the spruce trees. And let's leave all these trees for people if they want to add trees to the area. And plenty of bones to make them grow. And farmland. So a lot of people in the server are actually, I think, going to start fresh in this area too. I believe like Jordan, maybe Coco. They're basically going to be starting out in this area. What do we got here? This is the future site of Golden Tater's modern mountain village. So here you go. So Tater has come and he's decided this area he wants to work in. And this is the theme he's going to be building in. So if people want to build in this style as well, they can build in this area and work with him. So that's hopefully how this will end up working out, so people can do that. I believe some other people have gone and done the same thing. I believe Jordan has picked out a little plains clearing that he wants to work in. And yeah, anyway, I got distracted. So, oops, I didn't get rid of the saplings. Oh no, I went through. Hey, cow. Spruce saplings, let's go back in. Let's go back. Okay, so topic of today is pain. I'm going to see if I can walk and talk at the same time. I'm not sure. So yeah, in my streams, you get asked questions, so occasionally this topic comes about. So pain. Let's talk about pain. I'd like to say there's like 3 different types of pain. There's emotional pain, let's say from a loss of someone you love or relationship woes, stuff like that. Let's call that emotional pain, and let's put that in its own category, and let's just leave that for today. We won't talk about that. Let's instead talk about how fast my hunger's going down. My God. Okay. So another type of pain is what I'm going to dub as temporary pain. So temporary pain is anything that is temporary. So let's say you stub your toe, or you cut yourself, or you burn yourself, or not like on purpose, but like on a stove or something like that. You cause an injury to yourself, but it's temporary, right? It's painful, or maybe you go out drinking, right, and you get a hangover, right? You're in pain, you have whatever, you have some kind of physical pain. It's there, it's awful, but it's temporary. You're experiencing pain, but you look at that pain and you're like, this sucks, but I know in a day's time, a week's time, or what have you, this pain is going to be gone and I can resume my life as normal. So let's move on to the next type of pain, which is chronic pain. So chronic pain, see if I think it's defined as pain that has lasted like 6 months to a year. So it's kind of pain that doesn't go away. whether the cause of the pain, the initial, like whatever caused the pain, is still there, or maybe it's gone, but the pain has remained. The human body is a complex thing, and especially like nervous system and stuff like that, your body can remember pain even when there's the stimuli of the pain has disappeared. So chronic pain can be a interesting thing. I will take a break from that conversation to show you this. This is the Wither Skeleton Farm. We're working on it. Yesterday? Actually, I think it was earlier today. I see slimes in there. D-Gamer came and helped me remove a bunch of the old kind of stuff. It still needs to be done, but we were working on that together, and I was working on the roof and trying to come up with a pattern, and then decided to try to put a skull in it, and D-Gamer came and helped me, and we were trying to think up of a skull design. We were trying to like sketch something out, and D-Gamer mentioned, what about the Punisher skull? So I did a Google search, and together we came up with this little design. So it's not finalized. We actually kind of stopped this to go work on the new area and kind of decide all that with the other people. But it's kind of the roof as of yet, and I think we might even try to change these diagonal things to like bones, so it could be a skull and bones symbol. And we might come back here in a little bit, I think it's something I can do fairly easily while talking. Actually, why don't we just hop down there right now? So yeah, I'll work on this while I talk, because I think I can multitask, assuming I can get inside where there's less mobs. So yeah, chronic pain, as I mentioned. So it's pain that never goes away. It's kind of with you. And it's something you have to basically almost accept and deal with. Because you can't ignore it. I mean, you can try. And the reason I bring up chronic pain is because I suffer from chronic pain. And it is something that I tried to ignore for a very long time. So my chronic pain is caused by an accident that occurred to me. I had some trauma to my neck and spine, and due to that, I'm now kind of in pain all the time. So I suffer from chronic pain. I basically have a massive headache 24 hours a day. I have neck problems, neck stiffness, soreness all the time, and some other weird neurological pain, like phantom pains and stuff that is pretty much caused by neurological dysfunction, caused by stress to like the nervous system and specific nerves in the spine itself, because your spine is very complex. There's a lot of nerves running through it, going kind of snaking its way through all the bones and around stuff and stuff like that. So when things go awry, like muscles tense up and never relax, or things move the way they're not supposed to, they can cause stress and trauma to these nerves, which can lead to some really weird pain. And yeah. So I do have some notes that hopefully I can use to help kind of keep this conversation on topic and somewhat structured. So yeah, I've been dealing with this pain for about 4 years now. And personally, me and pain, I got a fairly high pain tolerance. Not to be like arrogant or cocky, but certain pains don't really bother me or really affect me because I've suffered from pain for a very long time. And I've had other semi-chronic type pain in my past. I suffer from a headache called cluster headache, which is kind of like a migraine's big bad brother. So if you're not familiar with migraines, I've had those too. Migraines are awful. They're fairly debilitating. When you have them, you don't want to basically move or do anything. Like basically you want to lie as still as possible. And yeah, and hope and basically wait it out until it goes away. Cluster headaches are a little different. The pain is different, and I don't have typical cluster headaches. Typical cluster headaches are fairly almost like clockwork. Like you kind of know they happen pretty much in clusters, which is why they're called cluster headaches. And they will. Let me turn down some sounds here, or I'm going to be distracted a little bit. I might get shot or killed, but hopefully not. And let's get fire resist, just in case I get knocked out of here somehow. But yeah, so cluster headache typically happens in clusters, and it's usually like every like 2 months or something, you'll get like a week of these things at the same time every day. Now, I don't get them like that. The only thing that where mine kind of relate to cluster headaches is the type of pain. So as I said, migraine pain, you kind of want to lay still, you don't want to move, and as long as you're not moving, the pain is less. Cluster headache's not like that at all. Cluster headache's a very agitating pain. It's like you want to run around or pace around and hit your head against the wall type of pain, or in my case, like I want to basically claw out my eyeball. Like I get this severe pain behind my eye, always the same place, and it's very intense, and it basically feels like someone's taken a hot poker out of the fireplace and jammed it into my eye socket and kind of spun it around. So it's very intense pain, I guess. So it's not something that you can kind of ignore. But that's not the pain that I'm talking about. That's just kind of my history of pain. And, come on guys. I think I'm going to clear out all this actually. Let's move up to the top floor. I'm going to get rid of all this, and I'll just put it back as I'm building the structure, because it's just too much trouble trying to deal with the mobs. So yeah, I'm going to just tear out this. So I'll just be digging. I should be able to do that and talk. Okay, so that's kind of my history of pain. I've had other stuff as well, but anyway. Most part, I have a fairly high pain tolerance. Certain types of pain, like physical pain, like stubbing your toe or something like that, doesn't really bother me. Like, I accept it for what it is. I know it's going to be gone, so I can just take it. Same with, like, I've had lots of treatment for my current condition, involving various needles and injections and stuff directly into the areas around my spine and neck. And, like, yeah, that stuff just doesn't bother me. You can do whatever you want. I'm the type of person where you could operate on me while I'm awake, and I could watch you do it, and it wouldn't really bother me. It doesn't gross me out, doesn't freak me out, anything like that. And the physical pain itself, I can handle, as long as it's short term. I'm a very critical thinker in life. I tend to analyze most situations in life and base my decisions off those. So any situation that I come across, yeah, I basically analyze it. That's kind of how I am, kind of how I've always been. I'm also a fairly introverted individual. I've never liked really large groups of people, parties, that kind of stuff. I like to keep to myself for the most part. I have a really nice close group of really good friends, I don't typically go out looking for social interactions. I'm content with the ones already in my life. So it kind of makes me seem kind of antisocial and maybe arrogant, stubborn, stuff like that. I can come across kind of the wrong way at times, just because of kind of how I am. And that's just part of my personality and yeah, how I've dealt with things. So chronic pain, yeah, it's hard to describe, it's hard to relate to, it's hard to understand unless you've actually experienced it yourself. Because you can experience pain and you can say, yeah, pain sucks. But unless you've had it like as chronic pain, as a pain that never goes away, like for me, my headache, which is constant, I always have a headache. Now, I couldn't even relate to this headache based on my previous headaches. Even my cluster headaches are a totally different ballgame. I mean, they're awful, but at the same time, like, it's a very intense pain. It's been described worse than like childbirth, stuff like that, for men, basically. Like, it's basically, it's awful. But I know it's temporary. When I get a cluster headache, I know it's, okay, you can die. This guy spawned in the nether. I think D-Gamer kind of trapped him just because it was kind of unique. Because I think there's a bug where zombies can just spawn in the nether now. Oh, I lost track. So yeah, so I know that pain, that cluster pain, no matter how intense it is, I know it's not going to last very long. So although it might affect my life at that instant, it doesn't really affect me overall. I mean, it does a bit because they're an ongoing problem and they do tax your system when you're experiencing them all the time or frequently. But the pain itself does go away, and that type of pain actually can be classified as chronic pain too. Chronic pain doesn't necessarily mean the pain is constant. It just means it's pain that is kind of reoccurring. I think it has to affect your, I think the actual like definition, it needs to affect your, it needs to be there a certain amount of time every day for however long or whatever. So typically I think it's like, I think I might have already said this, but like, yeah, typically if you experience pain for like over 6 months, it's typically classified as chronic pain. Before that, it's acute pain. So acute pain being the stuff like stubbing your toe and all that stuff. And acute pain can transform itself into chronic pain over time, just depending. Like I said, yeah, acute pain could be caused by something, and basically that is what happened to me. I had an injury, and that caused acute pain, but that acute pain never went away, and that's either because the injury was never addressed, so the problem that's causing the pain was never kind of fixed, or the body is just basically telling you you're in pain when there is no reason to be so. So you're still getting pain responses from your body, but there's no real reason for it. Let's see, I might need to... I don't know if I'll try to keep these guys, I guess. We're going to end up with a lot of stone, so I don't really need them all. But, okay, ladders, don't need those on me. Arrows. And let's go like that. Okay. Good. Alright. Oh, I kind of lost track of my thought process there, but... So let's move on. So yeah, chronic pain, okay, we've addressed that, kind of what it is. And the reason it's kind of hard to understand unless you're in it is because it's hard to relate to things unless you've experienced them. And experiencing acute pain is different than experiencing chronic pain. So even if you have a headache, you can't necessarily relate to having a headache all the time because they're kind of two different ball games. And like I said, I can deal with pain fairly well, but only for so long. And that's pretty much what I did when this injury first occurred. And I hate you guys so much. It's pretty much what I did when it occurred. I basically tried to rough it out and deal with it as well as I could, basically hoping it would eventually go away. And then when it doesn't go away, you have to change how that affects you. So I used to be a very active individual, very fit. I used to love doing things. I used to like run marathons, triathlons, mountain biking, swimming, mountain climbing, all sorts of different activities. That is what I really enjoyed. Right, so yeah, I used to do all this stuff. And basically, I kept trying to do this. I kept trying to live my life the way I used to, doing all the stuff I like to do. But that type of stuff caused me immense pain. So I'm already in pain, but certain stuff aggravates the pain. So certain activities, certain things will basically put me in more pain. So I have like a default pain level, you could say. And I like to say maybe I have like a pain currency. Oh, you jerks. Maybe I'll just drink this. Whoops. Whoops. Let's say I have a pain currency, so everything I do in life, I basically have to analyze, decide how much pain it's going to cause me, and is it worth doing? So that is how I kind of analyze things. So beforehand, when this first happened, I basically tried to ignore it. I continued doing the activities I wanted to do. I tried running, even though it was incredibly painful. I used to get this, and I still do, talking about weird pain caused by nervous system dysfunction. I used to get this strange burning feeling as a response to heat or emotional stimuli. So instead of my body sweating when it got hot, my body would generate a pain response. So it would feel like I was being kind of burned alive almost. It's a very, very hard thing to describe. But it eventually kind of felt like I was in a sandstorm being pelted by sand whenever my body would get hot and would try to like sweat. So I wouldn't sweat. In fact, instead of sweating, I would just get a pain response. But I, being very stubborn, would be like, screw it, I'm going to run, and I would. And I would run, and it was painful, but I would just keep doing it because I was like, nope, not going to let it dictate my life. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this. I will just work through the pain. So eventually the pain kind of enslaves your life, sort of deal. And I tried working through it, or ignoring it basically. But it does take its toll, and eventually it did. I tried for a good 6 months to a year to just work through it, try to just work through it, ignore it. But yeah, you can only do that for so long. That's something you can do for acute pain, I feel, but chronic pain is, yeah, it doesn't work. You can't ignore chronic pain because it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away. Or maybe eventually go away, but for the most part, it's kind of ongoing, right? So it's hard to ignore something that's always there. You could relate it sort of to like the water torture technique, you know, where they drip water into your forehead. That's not going to bother you at first, right? It might be, at first it'll be just like, whatever. Then it'll start getting annoying, and then it will drive you insane, right? So chronic pain could kind of be related and compared to that, in a way, I guess. So yeah, eventually I had to basically quit doing all the things I enjoyed in life, all the activity type stuff, and had to live a more kind of sedentary style of living. So more sitting, more just walking, no more running, stuff like that. So why am I telling you guys this? Why am I telling you? I feel like it may be important to kind of understand me and understand kind of why I act certain ways, or why I basically isolate myself certain times from people. So group things, and Minecraft as well. So how does this relate to Minecraft? I hadn't started playing Minecraft until all this occurred. So I've discovered Minecraft, and I've used Minecraft as a sort of like a tool, I guess, or an escape from or distraction from the pain. So I can come here, I can do this thing, I can create things in this game, and I can kind of escape the pain for a bit. So because that is my goal in Minecraft, I tend not to want to do things that will cause more pain. So I tend to not want to do too much social stuff in Minecraft, or things that I can't structure myself. So because I've now structured my life around this pain, and I kind of have this pain currency that I've developed, so before I do anything, and everything I do, recording this video, I have to decide, is it worth doing at this point in time, how much pain it's going to cause me. So certain situations that can arise, like in multiplayer type stuff, is things that I can't analyze ahead of time because I can't fully control social interactions or group stuff. So I can't basically control how much pain it's going to cost me. So it also, pain can lead to other things like frustration. I get very frustrated with life in general, with doctors, with lots of things in my life, because when things are being done that don't help you, it can be very frustrating. And when people don't know what's wrong with you, which is basically what happened with me, it's taken about 4 years to get a rough diagnosis of my problem, of what possibly occurred and why I'm in so much pain all the time. So it's taken 4 years to get here. And for the first 2 years, it was spent mostly doing basically like drug trials, because unfortunately I feel the medical system is fairly broken. We rely too much on drugs and medication to solve life's problems. And I don't feel like that's a very good tactic. And that's kind of how they treated me. Like, I had this pain, so they basically kept trying all these different drugs to address the pain, but they never addressed what was causing the pain. No matter how many times I told them, like, this is what happened. I strained my neck very badly. I caused trauma to this. And now I have such and such pain, etc., etc. But the doctors will do like the basic stuff. You go to physio, you do all this kind of stuff. But my injury the type of injury I sustained is not going to react to that type of treatment. Physio is good for certain injuries and stuff to get you kind of rehabbed up, get your body back in working fashion, but it doesn't work for everything. So like I tried lots of stuff, like chiropractic, massage therapy, physiotherapy, all types of stuff. But my problem arose from stretching the ligaments in my neck and spine. So if you are not familiar with the human anatomy that well, or even know what ligaments are, I'll kind of give a very basic description. So like your bone structure, you have ligaments. Ligaments are connective tissue that go from bone to bone, so they kind of hold your skeletal system together. And then on top of that, you have your muscular system, which attach to bone through tendons. So you have ligaments that go bone to bone and tendons that go muscle to bone. So what I did, or at least this is what we've now come to believe is the problem, is I stretched a whole bunch of these ligaments in my neck and in my spine. So basically my neck and spine became very lax, I guess, or stretched out. So the ligaments are no longer holding things where they should be. Now your body doesn't like that, obviously. So instead, all the muscles are trying to do what the ligaments are supposed to do. So instead of the ligaments trying to hold everything together, your muscles are doing the job. So muscles kind of automatically try to protect themselves. You may experience that from like a cramp or what have you. Like if a muscle feels like it's being stretched too far or strained too far, it will tighten itself up to protect itself. So you could say that that's kind of what's happening now. I have elasticity in my neck and spine, so the muscles in that area are tightening up, trying to hold everything together. But unfortunately, they're not exactly suited for that job. So they're failing, and they're basically having these muscles tense all the time causes other problems, which is most likely what causes all the nerve and muscle headache and stuff like that is from these muscles being tight all the time. Now I can go to physio, I can go to chiro, they can try to adjust everything as many times as they'd like, they can try to relax those muscles, but until the problem itself is addressed, which is ligaments being stretched out, everything is always going to go back to the way it is currently in its broken state. So, are we having fun yet? Are we learning about pain? Is it fun? So so no treatment ever helped me, physio, anything like that. And I feel fairly frustrated with that. I feel we've now found out kind of what is wrong, which is the ligaments being stretched, which took like I said, pretty much up till now to figure that out. And it doesn't seem like it's a very well-known issue. Certain specialists and stuff know about it very well, and I've found a specialist in the United States that I'm going to go see, and they're very familiar with this. It's like common sense for them, right? They're like, oh yeah, it's this. I'm like, obviously it's this. But your general doctor, and even I've seen like so many specialists, they don't know about it. It's just not known. And there's the frustration aspect. I've spent 4 years basically trying to find someone who knew the problem. Getting passed around doctor to doctor until you find someone that says, oh yeah, I know what's wrong with you. But finding that one doctor is the trick. But I mean, you could look at it like I've now wasted 4 years. I've lost 4 years of my life because couldn't find the right doctor. Didn't talk to the right person. Because most of the medical industry revolves primarily around treating the symptoms of your problem. So my symptoms were neck pain, headache, and some other weird neuro pain. So they prescribe medication that typically treats those symptoms. But unfortunately, medication doesn't usually solve a solution. It just helps with the symptoms. It helps alleviate the symptoms, which usually allow your body to heal itself. Now, unfortunately, my body's in a state where it's not going to heal itself. Ligaments don't just naturally tighten up on their own. Once they're stretched, they're stretched. When you're young, you tend to have fairly elastic type tendons, like children and stuff. That's why they're fairly flexible, and even women are typically more flexible than men, and that's because your ligaments are typically they are stretchy at first, but then they tend, as you age, and testosterone and stuff like that, they basically lose that elasticity. So that is not something that's going to automatically fix itself. So you can pump me full of as many drugs as you want. It's never going to. My body's never going to repair itself. It already has. I sustained an injury. It did its job. It did as best it could to fix it, and now it is what it is. So now we're looking at using. There's certain injections you can do into ligaments that will tighten them up again. So that's kind of the goal now. If we can tighten up those ligaments again, then maybe the muscles will subside and actually be able to relax finally. And then hopefully if they were causing the headache will go away. And the neural pain will go away as well. So that's kind of the goal. So, but yeah, so there's like light at the end of the tunnel, but it's taken a very long time to get here. So again, how does this relate to Minecraft? All right. I can come across. I'm typically a very nice guy, for the most part, until I'm not. I have very little patience for people, I guess, or attitudes, negative attitudes, or certain behavior, because I don't know, it's very arrogant way of thinking, but when you're in the kind of pain, like chronic type pain, other things become menial, I guess. Is that the word? Or trivial. So certain things that people will complain about or stuff in their lives, to me, seem like nothing. It's like, that's what you're complaining about or something like that. So I don't know, it's not really fair for me to think that way, but it's kind of how it happens. So it's hard for people to fully understand me in that respect and how that relates to me. So you can't, I don't know, it's hard for me to just even talk about. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, essentially that. So I find it very hard to deal with kind of social interactions now, because it's like people can't relate to what pain you're going through, so they can't really understand what pain you're going through. So they can't really understand things that really can irritate you, which typically would not irritate you if you weren't in kind of pain all the time. And I don't like talking about my pain. I don't like complaining about my pain. I'm in pain, you guys gotta stop, stuff like that. I don't like to do that, but sometimes I feel like I almost have to. It's like, or I have to remove myself from these situations. If I feel like a situation is causing me too much pain, I basically have to remove myself from it. So a lot of time it means I'll remove myself from, social stuff. Or I basically have to say, okay guys, I've reached my pain quota, I'm done, I gotta go, see you later. And then So other things in life, it's harder for me to, like, people just fooling around, right? Like, people like to fool around. It's fun, right? Act like idiots for a while. Woohoo, it's fun. But it's not fun for me. To me, that is introducing pain with no real purpose. So like I said, I have a pain kind of currency. I decide everything I do in life, I analyze and decide, is that worth the pain I'm going to go through doing it? And for certain social things, I feel, because I can't pre-analyze it, I have to basically wait until the pain level's gone to the point where it's no longer worth doing, and I remove myself from the situation. But up to that point, I can get very irritable and frustrated with people. And I don't mean to be that way. It just it happens. And I'm hoping this will help kind of give you an insight onto why. So, like collaborations and stuff, I'm not very good at doing, and I don't have too much interest in doing, mainly because of that fact. Social interactions are awkward to begin with for me. Add in the pain factor, and they become fairly unbearable for the most part. Yeah. Let's move on. I think I've almost covered everything I want to do. Oh yeah, I'll address another thing. My train of thought, even not relating to pain at all, I respect everyone that I meet. You automatically get my respect off the get-go. I meet you, you get my respect. I will respect you until you give me a reason not to. So you have my respect until you lose it. And then you will probably never get it back. Or it'll be very hard to get my respect, regain my respect. So losing respect, I don't find acting like an idiot or doing undesirable things at the expense of others, thinking it's funny or what have you, or doing things and saying, well, nobody's told me that I shouldn't do this, so like a whole 3-strike policy. No, I'm not really this doesn't relate to anything in particular. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas here, but this is kind of my general way of thinking. Like, you often hear people, well, you didn't tell me I'm not allowed to do this, or people that grief and say, well, you didn't say I couldn't grief, so I griefed. It's like, no, you don't. That is not the way it works. I believe you should act, you should know how a human being should act. Here's Tater. You should know how to act and behave. You should not have to be told you're behaving or acting in an undesirable manner. That is something I believe people should be able to determine on their own. And if you choose to do it anyway, I see that as being very disrespectful to others, and that is a good way to lose my respect. And yeah, you may never get it back. So again, this may make me come across as arrogant or cocky or what have you, but I don't know. It's the way I am, and with this pain, it's just how I kind of have to deal with all these different aspects of my life. I think that's pretty much all I really had to talk about. So yeah, this has been a different type of episode. I don't typically talk about my life, personal life, and I don't really like to complain about problems that are in my life. But at the same time, I am noticing it's getting harder and harder for me to be able to socialize with people without losing my patience, just because I can't act the way other people act, and I have to modify both my life and my behavior and my social interactions based on how much pain I'm in. Just doing a chatty episode while working on Wither Skeleton Farm. He's probably over at the New Chunks. So yeah, I don't know how well I really talked about any of that. If I managed to construct my thoughts in a manner which you guys can understand or relate to. I did have some other stuff to look at, so maybe I'll go over that real quick and see if I missed anything I wanted to talk about. I think I addressed everything I kind of really wanted to. The main thing is kind of, basically like the pain currency thing. Like, everything causes pain for me because a headache is a very different type of pain, I guess. It's not something one can really ignore. If your leg hurts or your finger hurts, you can just not use your finger, or you can not use that leg, right? You can favor the other leg until that leg's better. If your brain is hurting, not really your brain, because your brain doesn't feel pain, but areas around around your brain and nerves and whatnot, you can't really not use it, right? You can't not use your brain. You can't not use your head. It's something that you need to use, so you have to deal with the pain. You can't really just ignore it. You need that part of your body to function. If your arm hurts when you move in a certain position, you just don't do that, right? You go to the doctor. It hurts when I do this. Well, don't do this. It hurts when I live. Oh, well, don't live? Don't exist anymore? No, that's not a solution, right? So, yeah. If that makes any sense. There was a point to that, which I've now lost. All right. The point of that was, so yeah, even subtle things like me talking right now is actually adding to my pain. Not a lot, but if I have to talk for a long period of time, it will aggravate my headache and I will end up being in more pain. Same with like noise. I can deal with noise to a certain extent, but for the most part, if it's very noisy or if there's a lot of people talking, stuff like that, that causes me even more pain. And yeah, that's typically when I need to remove myself from those situations, is when things are just too chaotic, basically. I need structure. I need things to be calm, predictable, reasonable. I don't do well with spontaneous, basically fun. If you plan on having fun, I probably won't enjoy it to an extent. And not the way like fooling around, faffing about and all that kind of stuff isn't something I can enjoy, unfortunately, because it just ends up causing me too much pain than it's actually worth. So it kind of relates back to the pain scale, right? Currency. Is this situation worth the pain it's causing me? And typically, no, it is not. So then I say goodbye and have to remove. So the reason I'm basically making this is I may, if I ignore people or act or have to, yeah, basically it appears like I'm being rude. It might just be I need to remove my situation, whether I feel like I can't properly relate how much, like the type of pain I'm in to whoever I'm talking to. I don't want, it's I don't know, it's hard. I just basically say I can't expect people to fully understand what I go through in a day-to-day life, so instead I just kind of have to, I lose my patience, I guess. I get frustrated with people, and I apologize to anybody, I guess, if I do that, if I come across that way to people. It's not purposeful, really. It's just sometimes the pain becomes too great, and the frustration level becomes too great that I can't take it anymore, and I lose my patience. But anyway, I don't know how well this turned out. I'll have to see in editing. I'll have to cut some stuff out to hopefully keep the thought process going. But yeah, so this has been Morilibus, and you've got to see a glimpse into my life and who I am and why I play Minecraft. So yeah, Minecraft is my escape from the pain. Not really an escape, but kind of a distraction. So like I said, you can't not use your brain, but at least I can kind of distract it by occupying it with stuff like this that doesn't necessarily, I don't have to think too much, which can also is difficult. It's, yeah, strange when just thinking is hard because of pain. So, yeah, often it's, yeah, I don't know how to say it. It's weird. Chronic pain is a very strange thing, and it's something that I don't feel you can understand truly, fully, unless you've experienced it. You can try, and maybe you will be able to understand it a little bit, but having pain that is acute, temporary, something you know that's going to go away, is different than pain that never goes away. Pain that never goes away can be very taxing, both physically and mentally, and it can affect your life in various ways that you may not realize yourself, but others probably really won't realize or understand fully. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed, I guess. I don't know. It's been, a very real episode, I guess. Talked about some really serious things that can affect people's lives greatly. And yeah, I know a lot of you guys are probably younger folk as well, so you probably won't really be able to relate to this too much or fully understand what I'm talking about. And that's not to say that young people don't understand things. It's just, it comes down to life experience to a degree. I believe there's kind of two things. You can have maturity, But then there's also life experience. And life experience, you can have maturity without much life experience, right? Just based on your mindset and who you are and how you think. You can be a very mature person. But then I believe there's also kind of life experience that can also dictate that and how you can react and handle various situations in your life. So, for example, I'm an older guy. I'm over 30 years old. I've handled this chronic pain differently, I expect, than I could have if I had it when I was, let's say, a teenager. It would have greatly affected my life in a different way, and I wouldn't have been as well equipped to handle it, I don't think, as I am now, just based on other life experiences I've had in my life that kind of can help prepare you for other situations. And that's kind of what life is all about, really. Developing as much life experience as you can, really, and diversify that life experience and get a taste of as many different things in life as you can, to a degree, mind you. And then you can use that to, decide. I mean, it's hard to judge something if you never experienced it yourself or don't know about it. But at the same time, I mean, you got to be smart about things too. I mean, not to say you should go do drugs. I've never tried drugs, so let's go try drugs. Just experience them. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. That's not kind of where I'm going with that, in case that's kind of what it sounds like. But it's more relating. Yeah, if you guys are younger, you may, depending on your maturity level or life experience, you may be able to relate a little bit to my situation, or you may not be able to. And that's totally okay. I'm not trying to judge anybody or say anything. It's just the way it is, or the way I see it. So yeah, this has all been my opinion, guys, as well. I want to address that. Everything I've been saying isn't necessarily fact or the way things should be, the way people act. I definitely don't act the way I should act all the time and stuff like that. But this has just been my kind of a little glimpse into my life, what I deal with on a day-to-day, and kind of my way of thinking about certain situations. All right, guys, that'll be all. Oh, Tater's offering some help, so maybe I'll take up his offer. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and I probably will never talk about this again. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later.